We often look up at the stars when imagining what alien life might look like, but we might find biology just as bizarre by looking down into the deepest parts of our own oceans. The octopus belongs to a group of invertebrates known as mollusks. This means its closest genetic relatives are creatures we usually think of as simple and slow-moving, like snails and clams. Yet, despite emerging from a family tree of shelled bottom dwellers, cephalopods display raw cognitive power that rivals large-brained vertebrates. They solve complex puzzles, navigate mazes, and process information on par with dogs, cats, and even some primates. To find the last common ancestor we shared with the octopus, we have to travel roughly 600 million years into the past. The creature sitting at that fork in the evolutionary road was a simple flatworm with an extremely basic nervous system. From that flatworm, the tree of life diverged. High-level cognition blossomed entirely separately on our branch of vertebrates and on the distant branch of the cephalopods. Because the octopus brain followed a separate evolutionary path from our own, it operates on a biological blueprint unlike any other intelligent animal on Earth. For hundreds of millions of years, the ancestors of the modern octopus crawled along the seafloor inside heavy, protective armor. But around 140 million years ago, the lineage that produced the modern octopus abandoned those shells completely. This anatomical shift left them entirely soft-bodied in an ocean heavily populated by fast, hungry apex predators. They were now highly nutritious targets with zero physical armor. To survive without a shell, these vulnerable mollusks had to adapt. They developed the ability to squeeze through tiny crevices, became highly agile, and evolved to disappear into their environments. Shutting their physical defense shifted the burden of survival to the nervous system. To stay alive as a soft-bodied target, they had to develop the cognitive agility to outthink their predators. We can see the speed of that neural adaptation in their skin. An octopus can assess its background and completely modify its camouflage in up to 200 milliseconds, the exact duration of a human blink. They achieve this speed because their camouflage isn't a slow chemical reaction. They manipulate millions of pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores directly through their nervous system. Other animals known for changing color, like chameleons, take much longer. Their color shifts are hormonally controlled, meaning they have to wait for chemicals to distribute through the bloodstream before their skin can reflect the change. Despite rendering near-perfect, highly vibrant color matches of coral and kelp, almost all cephalopods are thought to be colorblind in their central vision. Researchers recently solved this mystery by finding active photoreceptor genes, the exact same genes we use to see light, embedded directly inside the tissue of the octopus's skin. The skin can actually respond to light even if it is physically detached from the animal's body. The octopus skin operates as a distributed sensory organ. By bypassing the central brain, the flesh can see and react to the environment directly. This chart compares the raw neuron count of 3 different animals. While a typical snail has a modest 20,000 neurons, the octopus possesses about 500 million, putting it in the exact same cognitive weight class as a dog. But only a third of those 500 million neurons are actually located inside the central brain. The vast majority of its nervous system is physically distributed throughout the animal's 8 arms. This layout grants the limbs a high degree of autonomy. An individual arm can touch, taste, and make independent decisions about how to explore an object. Even an hour after being completely severed from the body, an octopus arm will still respond to stimuli. Because sensory information doesn't have to travel all the way back to a central processor, the arms can bypass the brain entirely. This allows the octopus to analyze complex terrain and coordinate foraging movements at extremely high speeds. We can observe the results of this high-level processing in the wild. Octopuses have been recorded carrying around hollowed-out coconut shells across barren stretches of the seafloor, holding onto them as portable armor for when they need to stop and rest. Carrying a heavy object across an open stretch of sand offers no immediate benefit. It's a current effort made solely for protection at a future destination. This suggests the octopus can link past experiences with future needs, simulating a scenario that hasn't happened yet. For decades, scientists have relied on the social intelligence hypothesis to explain why big brains evolve. The accepted rule was that complex cognition develops primarily to handle the demands of living in intricate social groups. navigating hierarchies, cooperating, and tracking relationships. But the octopus contradicts this rule. It possesses cognitive abilities comparable to primates, yet it lives an entirely solitary life, with zero social bonds or pack hierarchies. They even engage in complex non-survival behaviors purely out of boredom. When placed in an empty tank with a floating pill bottle, octopuses will repeatedly shoot jets of water to bounce the object back and forth across the current, effectively inventing a solitary game of catch. This behavior points to an alternative framework, known as the ecological intelligence hypothesis. It suggests that the relentless pressures of foraging for difficult meals and outsmarting predators are demanding enough to spark genius on their own. The existence of the octopus challenges our human-centric assumptions about how a mind is supposed to work. It proves that highly advanced, conscious intelligence doesn't require our specific evolutionary path and can be built using completely different biological blueprints right here on Earth.